Welcome to the Healthy and Wealthy and Wise podcast with global sales trainer and professional speaker, Lois Kofi. Each week, it is her goal to share inspiration and education for you to be, do, have the best health and wealth and wisdom for your life.
Well, all right. We are live. Happy Friday. It's Coach Lois here. I'm the host of Healthy and Wealthy and Wise here on Facebook Live. If you're tuning in live, welcome. And also on YouTube Live. And of course, if you're hearing this on the replay, you are probably being able to, oh no, it happened again. Oh, shoot. StreamYard lost access to my Facebook account. So hopefully you guys are still tuning in on YouTube Live. This has happened to me. It must mean that my message is really, really powerful today. So just letting you guys know, if hopefully you guys are finding us on inside the Facebook group, and Jill, just so you know, the YouTube Live is working. If anybody's inside of the Facebook group, I'm going to go in a little bit and make sure they have the YouTube Live link. But the YouTube Live link was already shared. And so I'm just going to close out of these things here. So sorry, guys. Technical difficulties here as we get started. But I just want to say thank you for making time and space. We have an extra special message today. And if you're tuning in live, on YouTube, please comment below where you're tuning in from. We love to know and acknowledge our audience with where you guys may be tuning in. And then also, if you're on the replay later, go ahead and comment hashtag replay. So really quickly, I'm going to dive right in spite of the technical difficulties. Most of you may know me and you may not. But I actually live here in Southern California. I've been almost 200 episodes into my podcast. And when I named this show Healthy and Wealthy and Wise, it did have a lot of meaning for me. But at the time, I actually didn't know the total depth of it yet. But today, I'm going to share with you some of that. And 2 years ago, when I was just getting ready to launch this podcast, we were going through a pandemic. I want to give you context here. I was 30 pounds overweight. One of my friends had just committed suicide. My brother died. We were in a pandemic, and my mom went in a hospice, and died another month later. And I was a bit of a wreck. To be honest with you, I was drinking too much, working too much. I had been in that path probably by about 5 years. And it was kind of interesting. And when I named my podcast Healthy and Wealthy and Wise, it was like, that's what I want for me. That's what I want for my community. That's the kind of people that I want to bring together, like-minded go-givers who are here to help support one another to live their best life. And being able to help salespeople and entrepreneurs do that, I wanted to embody that. But then fast forward, through that year of 2020, a lot of people are telling me to read these books, go inward, meditate more, to try to go through grief. I hired a grief counselor. I hired a psychotherapist. I did all of the things, right? But most of that was for this right here, my brain between the ears. And I realized that the mind can be a scary place. Okay. And I didn't like what it was telling me, right? I read the book Untethered Soul, Surrender Experiment, and they were all like, be a third-party observer, right? Be a witness. And so when I thought about, wisdom, innate wisdom, which is why that's the last part of Healthy and Wealthy and Wise, right? I was like, I'm not feeling very wise right now because I'm beating myself up a lot. I'm having a lot of negative thoughts. And even though I was making a lot of money in my business, multiple 5 figures, I still felt dead inside. So since a year ago, when I started working with plant medicine, also known as psychedelics, which I know can be a controversial topic, so I want to address that right away too. I finally found something that didn't make me want to drink more, that didn't make me want to work more, that actually turned off this brain and was giving me a different kind of communication of going inward and a different kind of wisdom. So since talk therapy wasn't working, grief counseling wasn't working, meditation wasn't working, trying to be alone with my thoughts wasn't working, I was grateful to know that psychedelics, also known as plant medicine, had this wisdom that could help me manifest. And what happened since last year, almost exactly a year ago, was my first experience with that. I was able to lose 15 pounds. My marriage at the time was really, really rocky. Now it's so much more amazing. I'm more present with my children. I'm more present with my clients. I actually feel authentic, abundant joy again. And at the same time, I will tell you, psychedelics wasn't enough for me either. I needed more. So about 6 months ago, I met this amazing woman, Jill, and I said, I've heard about this thing called somatic therapy. I was really having a hard time with my head brain and I wanted to get into my heart. Psychedelics have helped me quite a bit with that, but I still felt like something was missing. And so I turned to Jill, I read her website, and I was like, oh my gosh. In fact, I'll put a little disclaimer out there. If you want to check out her website, jillvanmeter.com, go do that. And I was like, this is exactly what I need, because on her website, it just talked about going inward, and into the soul and into the body and really loving yourself and finding your divinity within. And I'm just like, whoa, now that's the kind of wisdom that I think I need. And so Jill, I know I didn't do it justice because there's so much you're going to share with us now, but tell us, as a psychedelic somatic therapist, and I know you're going to explain more what that is, how did you get to where you are today? And just share with us your story.
Well, thank you, Lois, for inviting me. And I want to say hi to everybody who's here or watching later. Um, well, we all have stuff. I mean, we're human beings. So we all have traumas or wounds or hurts that get stored in the body if they're not fully experienced and grieved and, released. And so I was on my own journey. Starting when I was really young, I became a seeker, trying to figure out, how do I heal the places in me that are still feeling broken and still feeling overreactive to certain things or triggered really easily. And so I've tried just about everything. I mean, I've tried every kind of therapy practically. I've been a yoga teacher. I'm an acupuncturist. I've done anything and everything that I could to kind of, again, find my own healing, my own wholeness. And nothing was really like touching these certain places, even though I had done tons of different kinds of talk therapy and art therapy and, yoga and all these things. There was still this place in me that when somebody would say a certain thing or look at me a certain way, I would have this triggered reaction and response. And I started feeling like there was something really wrong with me. Like, I've done all these different things. Why are these certain behaviors that are really deep in core, a lot of them having to do with my family of origin and how I react with them? Why can't I get to this place? And so I found that working through the body, and this particular work I do, which is psychedelic somatic therapy, using plant medicine to help, zero in on the nervous system and the body and to get us out of our minds so that we can really hear what's going on in our body, that this, for me, has been the most powerful healing and is the first thing that's really tapped into these places that I've been longing to heal. And as I do this more and more personally and do it more and more with other people, what I'm noticing is that my relationships are changing, that the way I react, how I get triggered is changing. And I'm seeing that with other people that I'm working with as well.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And you're so experienced with, I mean, you've been also doing acupuncture for like
Almost,
25, 30
almost
years.
30 years. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you understand getting to the root cause, what I say, and why is it that, like I was doing subconscious mind coaching, I was doing meditation, I was doing talk therapy, I was doing grief counseling and all of the things, but I still felt so dead inside because I couldn't really get this to shut down. Right. And that's what drew me to you. But in your experience, in your background with acupuncture and all of the things, what makes this so unique?
Thank you for asking that. I love to share about this work. And it's not to say that acupuncture and yoga and plant medicine by itself isn't helpful and effective. But our mind, if it's still on board, our mind, and this is our culture, tells us, listen to your mind, pay attention to your mind can figure everything out. So we put all of our stake and focus on figuring things out. But there's so much more going on in the body than the mind could ever figure out. So when we're trying to understand what's going on with us at these deep levels that are, in the muscles, in the cells, the mind's just not going to be able to understand. And so we're not going to really be able to go into those places with the mind on board. And the other thing that's really different about this particular work, psychedelic somatic therapy, is that we're working with the nervous system, and we're working with the fight or flight response, which is when we're angry and we have anxiety and we're fearful and we want to run or we want to hide. So that's where therapy usually works, in that realm of the nervous system. And that's great. It helps us through a lot of things. But the problem is that there's another part of the nervous system, which is our parasympathetic nervous system. And that's where our system gets so overwhelmed by whatever past trauma is still going on in the body that our system just goes, I can't do anything. I can't run, I can't hide, I can't fight, and we check out. So we go into dissociation. And it's that area where trauma lives, is in the dissociation. But most therapies don't go and work with people in that place. And this therapy does.
Oh my gosh, can I just speak to that for a second?
Yes.
And again, I want to acknowledge neither one of us are doctors, right, Jill?
No.
We're not here like endorsing. And someone did ask me when I was talking about psychedelic somatic therapy, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't do drugs. And I'm like, what? No. This is not the 60s. Okay. I just want to say that with love and grace. We're talking about something completely different, because I will tell you, when I tried to talk it out, I felt like I was re-triggering the trauma every time, right? I would feel even more depressed, and even journaling about, my childhood, and those exercises didn't work for me. And I then read the book, The Body Keeps the Score. And that was really telling. And I don't know if you can speak more to, I know you talked about central nervous system, but why does trauma stay stuck inside of us so deeply?
That's such a great question. So what happens is, let's just use a really simple example. And let me also just say that when we're talking about this work and using psychedelics, in this work, we are utilizing cannabis and ketamine in very small amounts, because we are dialoguing the whole time as the person is noticing what the sensations that they're feeling in their body. So we're not talking about giving somebody a massive dose of something like psilocybin. And, where I live in California, these are legal substances. One needs a prescription, the ketamine, and then the other, is legal to go buy in a dispensary. So we're not talking about, this is a very pointed, specific therapy, again, with dialogue. So it's different than maybe what people think when they think of somebody going and doing psychedelics and, taking huge amounts. So let's use a car accident as an example. So let's say you were in a car accident 15 years ago, and it wasn't, let's say it was not that bad. You weren't that injured, you were sore and everything. But coming up into the moment of the accident, there's suddenly this panic, the nervous system comes online, and then there's the trauma response. So after that accident, the mind will say, you're fine, everything's okay, it's over, it's done, that's it. But there might still be the anxiety, the fear, everything that happened in the nervous system at the time of the accident still in the body. So the mind wants to kind of protect us at any cost. So it's going to go, no, you're fine, you're okay. Don't ever think about that again. Don't feel that. Don't think about it. It's over, because it's trying to protect you. But in the body, this accident is still living in you, possibly in a trauma state. So when we go into this work and we go off the mind and we start to really let the body, show, so you're feeling what's coming up. Oh, I'm feeling a sharp pain in my hip. Oh, I'm feeling tingling in my throat. We just keep following that. And then if it's there, the trauma that was still happening at the time of that accident is finally able to come up, be experienced and felt so that it can finally be healed.
Wow.
And if it's still in there, if that car accident and all the anxiety and fear that came up during that moment, if that's still living in you, then that is informing decisions that you're making in your life today. So certain things will trigger that, and then you'll make a response about something that's happening right now based on this fear and anxiety from a car accident that happened, 10 or 15 years ago without you even knowing. So it's all unconscious. So we want to make all of this conscious so that you start to make conscious decisions and choices in your life instead of being run by something that happened to you 15 years ago.
Amen to that. And that goes back to my passion for healthy and wealthy and wise. And I want to speak to something that you've helped me remember, like not being in my body, and in sales coaching and in mostly business, any business. A lot of people think personal development, self-help books, which for me led to inspiration constipation at times, because again, I was relying on this, right? But I read years ago, 13, 14, 15, 16 years ago, for the first time, that we have three brains in our body. We have our head brain, we have our heart brain, which I've been studying, that it's got 70% of the same matter or material as this brain, right? And then we have the brain in our gut or stomach, and really, I have found, since working with both plant medicine and then bringing you in to really integrate more and go deeper. And in some ways it's actually been like talk therapy, right? But it's very specific to, Lois, your heart is on fire right now. I remember one point it felt like there was a dagger in my heart. And that was probably trauma, right? That we were unearthing and bringing forth. And then even our gut brain is also known as our intuition. And I was so not listening to my intuition for all this, even with the different therapies and things that I was doing. I was always looking outside myself for the answers, because at some point in time, I started not trusting myself. I started believing the lie that I had to get everyone's approval. I had to be perfect. Again, trauma. I had to be the good girl. Again, trauma. And so I shut everything down. I wasn't a quadriplegic physically, but I was like my own version of a spiritual quadriplegic, with only relying on this and then looking everywhere else, but within my heart, and then trusting that innate, wisdom within the intuition. So I just wanted to share that with you guys so that you get what she's talking about, even at a deeper level. And I have had congestive heart failure in my family. And now when we do our sessions, my heart's fine, for the moment anyway, but I feel lighter. I feel more authentic joy. So I don't know if you can speak to, why that kind of, those notices that I've been having, and I'm trusting myself a lot more. Even this month, I'm like a different person. So I'm going to take a break and let you talk a little bit more about that.
Well, this is the part that I'm really passionate about. I mean, this is why I do this work, because going into the body and feeling what's been in there, maybe for, 40 years, sadness, fear, anger, feelings that our culture doesn't teach us how to deal with, that are bad feelings. When we push those feelings down because they're too overwhelming or scary to feel, again, all of that is living in us. So it's not that it goes away, it's there, but it's unconsciously informing, again, how we're living our lives, choices that we're making. So for me, the passion in all of this is that when somebody goes into a session and they start to really let themselves feel what's been living in their body, and they let themselves feel the fear, they let themselves feel the anger, then what happens is it's come up, they're experiencing it, they're feeling it, and by doing that, that energy can transmute, shift, and heal and release. And so the exciting part in all of this is that when we have all this unconscious material shoved down inside of us, we're disconnected from ourselves. This is the dissociation, because we're not really being honest and letting ourselves feel what's really happening inside. So people nowadays keep talking, I want to be authentic. I want to speak my truth. I want my real voice. So in order to do that, we have to come into a deeper, more intimate relationship with ourselves. And the only way we can really do that is to actually really start to acknowledge how we're feeling in that moment, or what is happening with us. Instead of, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. It's like, I'm not happy right now. I'm really sad. And maybe I just need to sit and feel this. And if we really were to let ourselves do that, then again, it's like we have the emotion, which might be really appropriate for that moment, but it doesn't live in us. It doesn't get stuck. So in acupuncture, they say every emotion is appropriate to feel at times, but it's what we do with it when it's there that can be healthy or can be unhealthy. So by not feeling things and experiencing them, shoving them down, we're starting to lose more and more real, true connection with who we are. So watching people heal and come into this deeper awareness of who they are and what they want and what they like and, you know, what they want to be doing, that is the healing. And that's how we come into being a whole person, which, you know, I want to be whole. I want to be healed. And so it's so exciting. And it's so fun to work with you because you have such a willingness to go to these places. And it's a safe, you know, place in the therapy for someone to really do that because they're not doing it alone. And I'm always reminding people, if something comes up from the past and you start to feel shame or anger and it's overwhelming, first of all, you've already lived through the experience and survived it. This is something from your past, and you're not doing it alone because I'm there with them going through it. So anyway, I can go on and on because I'm so passionate about watching people find themselves like you have.
Yeah, well, before I forget, I do want to let you guys know this is going to be a longer episode today than normal. And this is around the time that you guys want to ask questions, if you have questions. So Kat from Temecula, love
Hi,
you.
Kat.
Didier Kofi, I love you too. And we got a deal from Pakistan, and another friend, Kat. This is a theme today, from Phoenix. Thank you so much for being here. If you guys have questions, please comment below with those, and then of course I'll field them as I can. And then please share this message. When you're on YouTube, I can't remember if you can share YouTube live in the moment. You can always share it later. Unfortunately, Facebook kicked us out today. Oh well, but that's all right. We're still here. So just want to acknowledge you here for being here today, and please do to share. And thank you, James. Thanks for being here.
Hello, darling.
Well, and I want to mention something. In fact, I'm going to be doing, if not one, two TED Talks on this topic, because one of the things that you empowered me to do was to forgive myself for those negative thoughts, forgive myself, and also be with myself and love myself, find compassion for myself, kindness for myself in those, dark night of the soul moments, maybe in the middle of the night when I was beating myself up for drinking too much, or I was beating myself up for being a bad wife. And I was having these thoughts, and instead of trying to shove them away, I learned how to have a different relationship with them and change my relationship with my suffering, change my relationship with my grief, change my relationship with trauma. Because before I was like running. What could I do to run from them? And now it's like, I'm like, okay, game on, I can be with. And so when we do our in-person sessions, that's huge, but it's the in-between stuff where I might be like, oh my God, I'm freaking out right now. I'm feeling this and I'm feeling that. And then you give me permission to feel them and acknowledge them. And I don't think we get that very often in life, And so I don't know if you have anything else to add specific to grief, or when someone's suffering with those dark night of the soul thoughts, how do you show kindness to yourself or love in the moment?
That's a great question because we all have experienced that. And so this is kind of where we start to look at what's going on with the mind and what's going on with the body. So let's say with you, obviously, you were talking about COVID and all the different things that were going on, and your mom and your brother, and you lost a friend. And so what's really was going on for you, we'll just guesstimate that was like a lot of pain, a lot of deep grief, maybe some fear. Like that was your truth. And then what happens is the mind starts to do this overlay. You're a terrible person, or you shouldn't be feeling this way, or you need to get yourself together, or you shouldn't let yourself be so sad. Pull it together, lady. Go be type A, get it all done. So you've got two issues going on here. You've got like this whole overlay from the mind, which is super judgmental. And then you have the actual real deep truth of how you're feeling. So with the work that I do, it starts to help people to get a sense of what is the mind and what is the actual true feeling that's happening. And if I can get the mind off my back being judgmental and really be with what's the truth and sit with the pain and sit with the grief and just let it be there instead of trying to run away from it or change it, actually kind of lean into it and be with it even more, it gives it space. It gives you space to feel what's really happening in you. And again, that creates a deeper, intimate relationship because you're being honest and real, and you're allowing these parts of you to be part of the whole. They're allowing them to have a place. And what comes from that then is actually a real compassion for self, not like, okay, I need to be compassionate towards myself. I'm not being compassionate towards myself. Oh my God, I'm a horrible person because I'm not being compassionate. Like the mind's just like, right?
Yeah.
But the healing is like to go into like what's really going on. And so I think, but it's hard to do because again, our minds are so loud and so active, and we felt like we should depend on them for everything for so long. So it's this process of teasing out like what's real and what's there to be acknowledged and felt, and what's like some like crap that we're laying on ourselves, right? Some judgment.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I call her the judgy bitch. So I'm like,
yeah,
don't you go there, girlfriend.
I love that.
Actually, I don't do that. I'm like, oh, I love you. You're teaching me so much right now of how I used to be. Thank you for showing me that. Wow. Okay.
Right.
So,
And let's not give the mind like a totally bad rap, because the mind is really important. I mean, it's really good at what it's good at. It's good at planning and thinking things through and, getting a sense of things and, measuring and compartmentalizing. So it's great. The problem is that it thinks it's in charge of everything and that it knows everything, and it really doesn't. And that's the problem. And that's where we get really limited, because if we're only listening to this, we're missing out on like all of this. And that's where plant medicine really comes in, because it gives us this space to really expand into full potentiality, whereas the mind only knows that. So there's not full potentiality if we just depend on our mind.
yeah, 100%. We do have a question, and I do want to share a quick story, Kat, before I get to your question. She does have a weight loss associated question, and I had sent out an email to my list yesterday letting them know that I was going to talk about my 15 pounds that I've lost, and I got another 15 to go, by the way, but I'm so happy because I used to coach people on weight loss. Jill, I used to help people run marathons. I've helped people lose thousands of pounds during my health and fitness career. And I would have never guessed that a side effect of me going on this inner journey of my highest self, right, that I would lose weight. But when you think about it, it's like, oh yeah, I've cut way back on drinking. I'm starting to exercise more, because I completely abandoned myself, in my health and fitness because of all of the stuff we've been talking about, right? And then I do have to share this one story, and it's maybe a little TMI, but it's important because it is part of the whole truth. So in February, I met with Jill for one of our in-person sessions, and maybe you can even explain a little bit more about what those sound like or look like. Or you can go to her website also, guys. Go to jillvanmeter.com, and you'll be able to watch an incredible, insightful video. Because my first few sessions, I was, obviously I've had layers of trauma and grief. So we didn't have a lot of that somatic movement. We didn't have a lot of things other than a lot of, feelings in my body, and I felt emotions later. So that was all beautiful. But in February, I let out a loud wail, so loud, I think probably the neighbors were thinking they needed to call the police. And I cried and I cried, and I had a lot of physical movement. And then the next day, actually, maybe that night, I started having diarrhea. And I proceeded to have that for 30 days. And so I'm not saying don't do it because you don't want to have that, because everyone's different, right, Jill? But it was a trauma. I had digestive issues as a kid, and I was always ashamed of it. And I know the medical reasons and the health reasons and also the spiritual reasons why all of that was happening. And so it was incredible. I actually lost like 5 or 6 pounds that month. And then it stopped. Once I started listening to my intuition, trusting my gut, and speaking my truth more in my life, it was like, okay, our job is done here. You're good to go. So, because I saw Kat's comments about it, and I wanted to just clarify, my weight loss wasn't the traditional model, but I definitely know that working with you and doing all the things that I talked about has been a huge part of that. So I don't know if you want to speak to any of that before I have Kat's questions pop up here.
I want to do a disclaimer that you're the only one who's had diarrhea for 30 days. So it's not medically what we're looking for, but that was the body response that your body went through in a releasing of trauma for you. So
yeah, I got
just so everybody doesn't think they're going to get diarrhea when they work with me.
As I like to say, I got the junk out of the trunk, the scoop on the poop. I got a lot of old poop out. So that's all. I'm happy. I can tell you that. So Kat's been through a lot, and she lost her husband, I think it was 18 months ago. I can't remember, gosh. And they're great friends of mine. I used to live by them in Phoenix. And so, will this work? So somatic therapy helped her on her weight gain, because she was happy with her late husband, but she was very overweight. Then, of course, she's got a new boyfriend. She's happy with him again. So she had lost a lot of weight unhealthily because of, her loss and her grief. So I don't know if you're reading along with me. Is it because she's feeling guilty because she was never able to lose the weight and look sexy for her late husband? The weight is more than unattractive. It is unhealthy. And then she says, and thank you, Kat, for being vulnerable and allowing to talk about this in front of everyone. She lost the weight, unhealthy, but she did get off blood pressure medications. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm so sorry, Kat. That's a lot to go through. And there's a lot of different reasons. Like I will share that I am a compulsive overeater. I've had issues with food my whole life. And that's because I learned that food could help me, like almost like a drug, to numb out, to go into dissociation when my trauma would start to come up, because I didn't know what to do with my trauma. I didn't have the ability to hold it. I didn't have the skills or tools to know what to do. So, I mean, that can be one reason, that there's weight gain. And it could be a trauma that, maybe, we say the word trauma, and sometimes I have people say, well, I wasn't beaten as a kid, so I don't really have trauma. Trauma is anything that throws you into a state of, anxiety, panic. So there could be a lot of little things that have built up over time that are in there. And when you start to feel, the discomfort of those things come up, our whole culture really, think about how much overworking, over drinking, over drugging, social media, like distracting ourselves on our phones. These are all things that a lot of us are doing to not feel discomfort when it starts to come up. And think about it too. It may not even be your own personal trauma that you're carrying. It could be family trauma. It could be ancestral trauma. I mean, we're all carrying a lot of DNA and a lot of memory in our muscles. So what I would say is that there's a possibility when people are holding weight or using food that there's something underneath that they're using the food to kind of calm themselves, like taking a Valium or a Xanax. And so the way that this work can work with that is to really, in a safe environment, in a safe way, go in and let you start to feel whatever it is that's underneath, so that you don't have to use the food or something else to numb out when you're starting to feel your feelings. There's other reasons too. It can be habit. Sometimes food is just habit. So I can't say specifically that it can work for each person for what they're going through. But if there is something under the surface there and food is a way to deal with the feelings, then this work can really help with that.
Yeah. And I will say too that, the ancestral trauma and releasing a lot of my masculinity that goes I don't know how many generations deep. I've always felt more like a tomboy. I've really been more masculine than feminine. And in this day and age, that gets promoted way too much, right? Like never let them see you sweat in all of the things. So I think part of what I've learned through this process is to release it. And you even have said before, you don't always know what it is that you released. And the good news is you don't have to know. And that's what I found this so refreshing. Because a lot of times if you do psychotherapy, and again, I'm not dissing on that. Okay. I
Not
know
at all.
everything has its place, right?
Exactly.
But I know that in some ways it's nice to just all of a sudden you're like this week, I've been feeling amazing and I'm not microdosing. It's just so cool to be like, something shifted. Not sure what, but I'm pretty darn happy about it. So I think the more we go within, Kat, just speaking to you, I think anything is possible with this kind of work for sure. But yeah, we can't guarantee weight loss.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, let's go in and see what's under the surface, what's really going on, somatically in the body, and see if there is something that's driving a need to numb out, to overeat, to overdrink, whatever it is for somebody. And we're definitely not dissing on regular therapy, talk therapy at all. It's super important. Lots of people get benefit, but we're talking about people who maybe they've tried these things and they're still, again, having these behaviors. I need to eat because I'm getting really anxious right now. And, they still don't know kind of what is running the show underneath that. That's what the psychedelic somatic therapy is so good for. And the breath work that I also do.
Ooh, yeah.
Breath work.
I think it would be great to talk about breathwork because that kind of segues into your free gift and giveaway. And I just wanted to let you know, you have the most pleasant, loving voice.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
So what is, and I will say breathwork also is a part of what Jill has offered me and introduced me to. And again, oh my gosh, it's like, and you could do work with her without medicine, and breathwork is like without medicine, right? And so I've had some amazing feelings in my body, amazing emotional releases, amazing, almost like spiritual journeys just with breathwork. How does that happen?
Well, the breath work is there's all kinds of breath work. I mean, I taught yoga for years. I mean, there's tons of different styles. The particular breath work that I do, I studied with David Elliott, who's a known name in breathwork circles. And it's a patterned breath. There's 2 inhales through the mouth and an exhale. And you do that for a certain period of time. It doesn't take you into hyperventilation. Sorry, I forgot the word for a minute. But it's similar. So what it's doing, it's actually creating like an altered state of consciousness just through the breath and getting the mind offline a little bit. And the breath brings you into the body. So as you're doing the breath work and we're playing music, which also kind of takes you on this journey, You're able to get out of the mind and really, again, start to let whatever's stuck or being held in the body just start to come up, be experienced and released. So it's basically almost the same thing, but instead of using certain inhibitions to pressurize the system or the legal psychedelics, the breath work, you're just using the breath for the same kind of experience to get what's under the surface underneath the mind. And it is so powerful. I did it the other night, and I mean, within 5 minutes, I was just sobbing. And some things that had gone on for me a few weeks before that had upset me, but I hadn't really let myself really feel how upsetting this certain situation was. It just came right up, and I cried and I cried and I felt how hurt I was. And then there was just kind of this peace after. So, and I feel a whole new relationship with the situation that happened and with myself about it. So I would say, like, with all these things, so the breath work, I have a class that I teach online. So, people come on, they turn off the camera, they turn off their mics, and they just follow this, 50-minute breath work. And I do one-on-one sessions with people where we can really focus in on what might be going on with them and use the breath work to dive in. So all of the things that I do are really ultimately to help people, and this is what I'm seeing with myself and with the people that I work with, to ultimately heal on these deeper levels and to get, like we said, more connected and more intimate with our true self, and to feel comfortable in our skin, to feel settled, to really embody this experience that you're in. And that's what I hear from people is, I just feel more comfortable with myself. I just feel more settled in myself. And then that starts to translate to the relationships around us, because if we're coming from a different place, more settled within ourselves, our interactions with other people in our relationships are going to be different. So it's, again, really exciting.
Well, you and I have talked about this, and again, guys, I want to make you know that I have so shifted thanks to all of this work. I fell into, and I attracted it. I take responsibility. I attracted a lot of masculine, dominant energy type people, and again, I'm not talking men. It was men and women who are all about the money, all about the go, all about the hustle. And so last year, when I really started this path, I was so dead inside, even making tons and tons of money. And I was like, whoa, I thought I'd be happy when, right? You hear people say that, oh, I'll be so happy when I get that new house, or I'll be so happy when I get that new car. I'll be so happy when I'm making X amount of dollars a month. And I'm that sales coach, right? So I'm actually helping people set these goals. And now I'm like, why can't you be happy now? Why can't you embody that which you seek and, you deserve, and you won't live in that place of fear and lack and scarcity? Because that's where I ended up as a result of just stuffing down my heart, stuffing down my intuition, stuffing down truly that feminine energy that's all about nurturing, about love, about peace, about joy, about fun, about creativity, about flow. And so now, I'm more here, whereas before I was like, eh. And so I share that with you guys to really ponder, healthy and wealthy and wise. What does that mean for you? And in fact, Jill, I'd love to get, when you hear that phrase, healthy and wealthy and wise, what does that mean to you, knowing all that you've been through and your journey and life and business and health?
Well, when you were talking, what came up for me was anybody who knows Danielle Laporte, The Desire Map. I really recommend that book. I was a facilitator for that work for a while. And the whole concept, like you were saying, is I'll be happy when I have the money. I'll be happy when I have the car. And it's like, when you really think about it, it's like, what is it about having that car or a certain amount of money? How is that going to make you feel? Right? So it's like, oh, I'm going to feel successful, or I'm going to feel settled in my skin, or I'm going to feel competent, or I'm going to have joy. And so why can't we start to make choices right now that make us feel that way? So we don't have to go for the car way out like in 2 years or whenever we think we can afford it. How can I start to make every decision I make today makes me feel how I would feel if I got that car? So healthy, wealthy, and wise to me means, what are the choices that I'm making, the conscious choices, because I'm not being run by unconscious trauma? What are the conscious choices that I get to make every day that make me feel healthy, that help me to feel wise, to make me feel wealthy? And it doesn't necessarily mean, I need like a check for $5,000 to feel wealthy right now. If I really sit in it and I think about wealth, I think of all the friends that I have and the relationship that I'm creating with my family that's new and improved and more loving and less judgmental. Like, that's wealth also. So like, we don't have to wait to feel happy, and we don't have to wait to feel wealthy. We already have it right now.
Yes, act as if and it shall be so, right? Is just, and that's what you've helped me, is recognizing, again, I felt like for the past 10 years, I've really been like reaching, for everything outside, but really, truly, the pursuit of happiness lies within. All the answers lie within. It's just, it's not for the faint of heart to
No,
go
this isn't easy work.
inward.
No, it's not
Kat
easy,
had
but
a
it's
question.
the most rewarding. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No. I was going to say that this is kind of perfect. We have one last question, then we'll start wrapping up. So Kat in Phoenix asked if you teach or certify, and she shared your information with her nephews. So do you want to
No,
answer that?
I don't teach any of this work. I just have trained in all of this. I've done, I've been doing acupuncture almost 30 years. I've been trained in the psychedelic somatic therapy. This for the training, I trained with a man named Saj Rosvi, and people can go on his website, which is psychedelicsomatic.org. So I don't teach or certify. And thank you for sharing the information. I mean, the breathwork class, right now, my breathwork class on Wednesday nights is free. I'm going to be doing that through April, which is my birthday month. So anybody is welcome to join that class, and that information is on my website. So yeah, and that's online.
Awesome.
And again, your camera and your mic are off, so that, and there's points where we scream into a pillow and make sound and move energy and listen to music. And so it's very private. Thank you for your
That's awesome.
question, Kat.
Yeah, and go to jillvanmeter.com and watch the psychedelic therapy or somatic therapy video, because that was very, very telling. And I realized, oh my gosh, this is why I need to do this. It was very powerful. It's so powerful. I think they had like a Vietnam vet as an example, and you could just see like his body shaking, and if you don't close that loop on the trauma, it stays there, and that's what causes dis-ease in your body. And then of course depression and all the things that I've started lifting and releasing. And then I did mention, Kat, I don't know if you saw my message. I do have a mushroom shaman in Phoenix who helps with micro dosing, and he's local to you. So he's phenomenal. I can connect you with him, and as well as come on out and join me for any of our local events. You can always reach out to me for that. So they'll get their free breath work. You guys can reach out to Jill. Is there any other last things for you that you want to share that you haven't shared yet?
I think I just want to share and let people know what I didn't know for a long, long, long time, is that you really can heal and you really can feel whole in this life. That anybody who's willing to be with their feelings and to be with whatever the body is holding, you can heal and you can feel comfortable in your skin. I didn't know that for a long time. And that's the message that I want to share with people, is that there's possibility, that now we're starting to see that the body really is where the wisdom and the information is. And I just want to share hope with people who are feeling maybe unhappy and uncomfortable with themselves or with their past. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jill. I can't thank you. I love you for
I
all
love
that
you.
have done for me, and I know are doing for so many. So guys, again, if you saw value in this show today, please share it, tweet it, post it on LinkedIn, post it on Facebook. I do want to acknowledge also, just for those of you who are curious, my podcast is shifting, and so is my membership. I have a low-level membership that was primarily focused on lead generation and sales. But starting April 1st, no fooling, I'm shifting it to life, lead generation, and sales mastery. So we're going to be adding in meditation. We are going to be adding in breath work. We are going to be adding in different tools with my magnetic mind certification to help you manifest and act as if, and not say, I'll be happy when. I'm going to help you change that language. So we're going to have about 7 to 10 hours a month of all of it. Life coaching, lead generation coaching, sales coaching. You might even see Jill there. I haven't even talked to her about this yet. But just letting you guys know, we really want you to be a whole person. And yes, we want you to make more sales. Yes, we want you to generate better leads and attract those amazing dream clients. But if you're feeling like I felt a year ago and not loving yourself and not giving yourself compassion and maybe reframing some things that you might be saying, it just isn't, life isn't as fun. Okay, so that's what we want. We want to help you have fun this year, more joy, more success, whatever that is defined as for you. And I hope this show today gave you some things to chew on as you are considering, your, quarter two starting right around the corner and your rest of 2022. So you can go to loiscoffey.com/membership. It's not fully updated yet, but you can check that out there. And again, as always, go to healthyandwealthyandwise.com. And I apologize again for the Facebook snafu. Apparently Facebook doesn't like me this year. I haven't been able to be very successful. So come back.
Are you triggered about that?
No, I'm so glad you asked that, because I would get so pissed. Last fall, I had a bunch of technology things happen, email campaign snafus, and and this was before working with you, by the way. Okay, this was like
See,
October.
It works.
And so now I'm like, oh, Facebook is not liking me today. Okay, all right, I guess I get to pivot. Don't know what that's about, but I guess we'll just go with it. So 100%.
Look how healthy she is, how she deals with trauma in her life.
Yeah, because Facebook can traumatize you, right? It can.
Exactly.
It has, and it
will.
For
sure.
All right, awesome.
Thank you.
Love all of you guys. Tune in again. Most of my shows are usually on Fridays. The next couple will be changed and monologues. So just make sure you sign up on my email list at healthyandwealthyandwise.com to know who the next guests are in the month of April. Until then, here's to your best health, your best wealth, and your best wisdom. Thank you, Jill. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lois.
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, refer a friend, and please drop me a rating or a review. If you do that, I'll reward you with a free 20-minute free coaching session on crafting your journey to your best self. Reach out to me at loiscoffey.com to claim your 20-minute slot. Until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.